And now we're going to talk a little bit about access, and specifically as it relates to you. So as an assessment data manager, there are a couple of things that we want you to know. The assessment data manager's role is really pretty straightforward. You are responsible for adding, managing, and reporting the data specific to the two assessments that we've been talking about, the ELA and the KRAR. You are responsible for providing access to teachers who will then enter scores. You only have access to the scores that have been entered by teachers. Likewise, data managers and building administrators are encouraged to work together so that these scores are as complete and as accurate as possible. Access to the KReady system is only provided as a result of being verified as the assessment data manager, preschool and kindergarten for your specific organization. And we do that through reconciliation in the Ohio Educational Directory System. That's also known as OEDS. So there are three primary ways that data is loaded into the system. The first is manually. Next is using the bulk loader system. And then thirdly, we can get information into the system through an automated process. We want you to understand that there are reasons for using each of these, and we want you to also understand that there are methods or tools that we use in each of these steps. For entering data into the system are data templates, and these templates are a CSV file format, and they're used to import teacher, student enrollment, unenrollment, and location administrator data into the KReady system for the assessment. So without these templates, you cannot administer the assessment. The first is the teacher template, followed by the student template and the enrollments template. The other two are not required. The unenrollments template, you use that as needed. If you have to make a change in what's been submitted in the enrollments, you would use the unenrollments template to make that change. The location administrator is not required, but it's highly recommended, and we encourage you to do that actually early on in the window so that your building administrators have access to see what's going on in the system and they have access to reports. All right, so this is an example of the teacher template. You can see here the fields that are required or needed. They include the district ID, the teacher ID, the school ID, the teacher's email, as well as the teacher's first and last name. And you see that here. And all of these are required for the teacher template. Likewise, we have the student template, and there are two different types, one for ELA and another one for KRA. For the ELA, you need to have a district ID, the state student ID, the school ID, as well as the student's first and last name and the student's date of birth. For the KRA, you need the following. You need to have the same information as before, the district ID, the state student ID, the school ID, the student's first and last name, and their date of birth, as well as the following fields: the IEP status, the disability codes, the low SES codes, as well as ELL and LEP code. That information is required. The enrollments template is what's used to join the teacher and the student. The enrollments template allows you to combine those data sets so that the students are assigned and associated with specific teachers and specific classes. In order to do that, you need to make sure that the data collection token is correct. You see that circled here in red. The example here we're showing is for KRA, but there is a data collection token for ELA as well, and I can give that to you now. It is just simply ELA. Token is Fall 2022 ELA. In the enrollment template, you see the required fields. It is the collection token, the district ID, the state student ID, the school ID, the student's first and last name, as well as their date of birth, and then the teacher information, which would include the teacher ID, the teacher's first and last name. All of this information is needed for the enrollment template in order to make the join between the student and the teacher in the system. Next, we have the location administrator template, and that template just simply includes the district ID, the school ID, and the administrator's email. Now, for the unenrollment template, That template is used only when you're making a change to the enrollment. And it's the same as the enrollments template, except it's just unenrolling the students. It's important to understand that when you download these templates and the CSV files, you should not remove or change any of the headers. This will cause for that template to not be read correctly in the system. Leave everything the same in the template, just simply add your information. You'll need to format the cells with a leading 0, specifically for the columns that involve the district ID and the school ID. For the date of birth, it's important that that's formatted with 2 digits for the month, 2 digits for the day, and 4 digits for the year. So again, it's important that it's formatted correctly in order for that file to be read. If you need further details about how to format, you can go to the data guidelines for more information. If you're going to change teacher data, it's important to remember that the teacher data is linked to their email. So the email that you use, that's what ties the data to the teacher. So for instance, if a teacher's name changes, let's say for instance they got married over the summer or something of that nature and their email needs to be updated, that needs to be done manually in the system. And so you'll need to go in and manually update the teacher's email prior to loading the students for this year. Otherwise, that's going to be linked to the teacher's previous email. So it's important to note that you need to do that. The student data is linked to their state student ID. If a student's ID is loaded in another system, then that's going to trigger a transfer request. And so it's important that the state ID is correct that you're loading. System. So we're going to talk about loading data manually, and that involves adding the teachers manually, adding students and enrollments manually, and then managing unenrollments.
So we'll start out first with updating a user information. So when you log into your account, select the administration, and over on the left-hand side, you'll want to select users. And I want to update somebody's email address here. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a teacher. You can see all your teachers listed there. I'm looking for specifically teacher number 4. I will select open, and let's say the first name changed. What you want to do, updating them first manually, so that way you don't create a brand new account for them when you do a teacher file upload. So I'm going to update and I'm going to add 4 to the first name. Here you want to select save. You can also update or add the teacher credential ID number. To do that, when you have that teacher open, select the organizations tab. Here you see the administrative levels. Select the drop-down arrow and go to districts. Here you will see the actual district they're attached to. And you can see that this is not the credential ID. So you can do 2 things in this place. You can either do the teacher email address, the school email address that they have in a KReady system, or you use their credential ID number, which is 2 letters and 7 digits. So you would want to go ahead and hit that pencil and type in their credential ID number there, hit save, and that will then save that for that. So when you go to add your teacher file through the bulk loader, you're going to use that same number that you have here for that column where it says teacher ID. All right, so next what I want to do is I want to add a teacher manually. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and hit add user, type in their first name and last name. Select their initial location. So their initial location is going to be whichever school. So if you have multiple schools, you're going to have multiple locations come up. If you have just one, you'll just see one. I'm going to put this teacher in my KRA test district. Make sure you check the roles as teacher. A teacher, if they sign into their account, they're going to have an error that says, are you meant to be here, if this is not checked. So when you're adding teachers manually, please make sure to check that box. You're going to then put in their email address. And when you're doing this manually, you will need to set their password. So So type in a generic password and make sure you use the same credentials or the same password must have. So 8 characters, excuse me, 1 uppercase, lowercase, and a number. Once you have that in there, hit save and open. And what you'll see is that teacher information listed just like we did earlier when it comes to updating a teacher. And again, what you'll be able to do is then add their teacher credential ID. So for this one, I'm actually just going to use their email address and just hit save. Now, the next step I want to show you is adding a student manually. There are 2 ways to do that. You can do it through the Students tab, and you can do it through the Organizations tab. I'm just going to go ahead and show you through the Organizations tab. We'll go through each step here. So select View Districts, View Locations, and then View Students. Here you see all your students that are listed for that specific location. And then if you are looking to add a student, you're going to select Add, enter the information in. So we will make sure 2 letters and the 7 digits. Type in the first name. You can select their gender, their race, then you can type in their birthday. And then here you'll be able to select the disability code. And the disability codes, those are all located not only with EMIS, but also on the data guidelines document. You'll be able to see those listed as well. Pick one of the disability code that is specific to that student. And you would need to select the special ed, IEP, IF, SP. And if they are an English language learner or low socioeconomic status. Once that is done, select Save and Open. This opens that student up a little bit further. You can see now you have more tabs available. So what you want to do is make sure all of that is correct. You just entered, so it should be. You want to next assign the teacher to the student. So select the enrollments. Down here on the right-hand side, you see Assign a Teacher, and I am going to give the student to myself. I'm going to click Assign, and I'm going to click Finished. Now what you're going to do, even though you assign the teacher, that doesn't automatically mean that the student is going to show in the teacher's roster. You have one more step to do, and that's assigning the data collection assignment. Because the enrollment file does the exact same thing, not only assigns the teacher, but attaches them to the correct assessment. So here, select the data collection assignment and select the button over on the right-hand side. So here you're going to have the ones that you are able to assign, if it is the fall early learning or if it is the kindergarten readiness. And this button will only be available until the end of the assessment window. So when it's over, what you're going to see is enrollment deadline has passed. I'm going to click Assign for the 2022 Kindergarten Readiness Assessment Revise and select Finish. The teacher will see the student in their roster when they log into their own account. I'm going to go back and I want to show you another thing. If you need to remove a student from a teacher. So if a student leaves the district, you want to remove that teacher from them. So you would select your location for that student, select View Students, and let's go with Happy Bear here. They left the district. I need to make sure I remove the teacher so this student is not on that teacher's roster. Select Open, go to the enrollments, and down here you're going to see that teacher association. So I currently have 2 teachers assigned to this student. Well, I know the student has left, so I'm going to go ahead and select Remove from my demo teacher and from the second teacher. And now the student will not show on the roster, so you will not have that student show on the report. And you will also see the student has now turned inactive. A student will remain inactive until a teacher is assigned to that student. Bulk loading next. Adding a teacher, student enrollment files, unenrollment, as well as the data collection tokens. In the left-hand navigation to the bulk loader. Like I said, you have this legacy mode down here. Everything we're doing is going to be in the version you're seeing currently, which is the beta version right now. The legacy mode is the older version that will be going away. You can switch over, but at this point, like I say, it is going away. So we work in the beta version, and I'm showing you everything through that now. So when you select bulk loader, you get 3 tabs that pull up: uploads, automated, and templates. So the uploads, what it's showing you is everything that has been uploaded so far this year. The automated is if you have like the file watcher or the SFTP enabled. And then the templates, this is where you're going to pull all of your templates for the teacher, student, enrollments, location, all of that. So I'm going to start off first and show you, we're going to do a teacher file. So you're going to select your teacher, and you have the ability of doing an all fields and a required fields. Teacher, you can just do required fields. I, for time purposes, have already created this file. You're going to have columns A through F that you would fill in for that teacher. Put in your district IRN, the location school IRN, so the specific building, and then whatever teacher ID that you have for that teacher, whether you are using their email address, or if you are using their actual educator ID number, you would put that in column B. Teacher email, first and last name. Make sure you format for leading zeros. That needs to be done for column A and column C. A lot of IRNs start with a 0. My district here does not, but I want to walk you through how to format for those leading zeros so you know as well. So you would right click and you would go down to format cells, go down to custom and select the first 0. I then go back, put my cursor where I have a blinking cursor right next to that 0, and type in an additional 5, and then hit OK. What you'll see is that 0 show. If you were to do it, you're going to see that 0 go away because that formatting of the leading 0 here. So I just wanted to show you that real fast. You're going to do that again for the column C. Once that's done, you're going to save it somewhere you can easily find it. Go back and select upload file. Select the drop-down arrow, select your template type, and then you're going to find exactly where you saved the file. So I'm going to go back, and there is my teacher file. Select upload, and I can go back to that enrollments tab to see, oh, okay, great. That one went through, came back complete. I have an addition. So you were going to do the same thing for your student file. For student files for the KRA, you want to use an all fields template. So this will have all of the information needed, such as like the English language learner, the IEP, and if there is a disability code. For time purposes, again, I did that file real fast. The student information that you need to fill out is going to be A through J. And again, you'll need to format for leading zeros. So you would format your district ID, your school ID, and the date of birth. The date of birth, like mentioned earlier, is a specific format. So right click, go down to format cells. I select customs, select the 0, and then I just delete that 0. And I go back and I do MMDD/YYYY. This way, you'll have that 0816 and then the whole year, 2016. You don't need to put a district student ID. If you have one, you can add it. If you don't, it's not going to give you an error. You do not have to. The other columns, W, X, Y, and Z. The IEP, a yes or a no, a Y or an N. If there is a disability code, if you have a yes, you'll need to have a disability code. From here, the disability code, again, you're going to format for leading zeros because it's just going to say 1, and it does go up to 15, 16. You'll want to right click, go down to format cells again, select custom, and then type in that additional 0. Hit OK. So now it has that 0, 1. Then the low economic status, yes or no, and then English language learner, yes or no. Once everything is formatted, make sure you save it where it can easily be found. We'll go back and we're going to select upload file, select students, and then find your file and upload. Go back to that uploads tab and you're going to see now there's 2 additions. And then lastly, the enrollment file, and that is what ties the student to the teacher and to the assessment. Select enrollments and select the all field template. Here, what we have is the student information, which is column B through H. All of this is what you put on your student file just recently, just the one you just uploaded. So it's going to be that combination of the student file and then the teacher file. And then you're adding the data collection token. If you get to this part and you're not sure where to find that data collection token, you want to go back to your KReady system. Right underneath organizations where we were earlier, select data collections. And here you see your name of the assessment, the 2022 kindergarten readiness revised, and then the fall early learning 2022. Over here is the enrollment tokens for that. So this is what you are going to put in column A of that enrollment file. So we're going to go back and you're going to type in KRAR 22. And again, for the second student. Once everything is formatted, again, you'll format for column B, your district ID, your school ID, and your date of birth column. So I know my date of birth column needs to be done because I do not have that correct. So I'm going to go back, type in MM/DD/YYYY. Select OK. And now you see the 08162016. So save it where you can find that. Actually, I am going to do a quick error so you can kind of see what it would look like if something is incorrect. If you go back to your bulk loader, select upload file. Now we're going to do the enrollments file here. So you can see a little more here. This box is unenrolled students by. So by default, it is unchecked. If you were to check it, what it does, it's going to unenroll students by, and you can either pick by student or by district. This actually will unenroll the students, whatever enrollment file you're adding. So let's say you added that file earlier, but now you need to remove those teachers. This by student is a good option if you are doing like partial uploads. For example, if you only have 5 students that you want to make sure their enrollments are clean and they're not attached to any teacher, you would do it that way. If you were to select by district, this is going to be, again, it's the same thing. You're going to clean off any enrollments past. So no teacher or student association, all of that would be removed. It does not remove scores. It just removes that teacher student association. And so this is typical or more user-friendly for bigger districts. But we're not going to do that. We're doing just a regular enrollment file. So we are going to keep that unchecked and we are going to select our file and upload. And you're going to see it's in processing status. When it says that, you can refresh your screen up here in the top left where it says reload the page, or you can hit F5. Either one will refresh your screen. And you're going to see that I had one addition, but I also had errors. What happened? What did I do? So select your download validation errors. When that pulls up, open that up. And what it's going to show is 2 extra columns. What happened, what the action was. Okay, so this one was added. The second one, you're going to see the action is error. And the error is going to be in this message here, invalid data collection token. Oh, so when I dragged it, it added, or, however, you just want to pay attention to that when you're dragging to, that it just copies it and doesn't add to it, doesn't insert. So now you know what that error was. So you want to go back and you are going to correct that to 22. Okay, so you're going to do that actually on your original enrollment file. And then you would save it and upload it again. So I wanted to show you that because that sometimes does happen. You have errors that you might have missed. All right, so lastly, Ed was stating is location administrators. He showed you what the actual file looks like there. Again, you're going to find that in your templates. And you will see down here, location administrators. And you can just do the required fields. Again, it's going to be those 3 items because the person is already in your district. So you're just going to do your district ID, the school ID you want them to be administrator of, and then what that user email address is. And you would fill that out and upload. And at that point, you would then, once those are all complete, you do want to check with your teachers to ensure that they can see all of their students in their rosters as soon as they log in. If they don't, make sure that they reach out and ask you or tell you which student they're not able to see.
As we mentioned earlier, there's an automated process. There are 2 ways via the automation. The first is the file watcher, which is simply a desktop application that is highly recommended for larger districts to utilize, and it simplifies the process by automatically checking user-created folders that contain the various template types that Carissa just shared with you. And so once it sees those changes that are made in those folders, it makes the updates to the system automatically. And so that's the file watcher, and that's available on the front page. When you log on, you should see a link to be able to download that app. The second method is via the secure file transfer, and that's the SFTP process. And that process, again, is recommended for larger districts. If you're interested in utilizing that process or even the file watcher process, we would suggest that you reach out to the help desk and we can walk you through how to do that and to get you set up with that. Again.
So as you can see here, these are the early learning assessment reports that you can pull in the KReady system. The first one is the data downloads report, and this will be an Excel file. It's going to show you have the option of showing your teachers, students, or enrollment data that has been entered into the system. This is a really good report checking what has been entered. So it's like it's stated there, it's a confirm and check of the data. So you want to make sure that the students that are in the system are enrolled and they are connected to the correct teacher, and they have that you have the point of authority for those students. So that particular report is available both during and after. The SKB ratings report, that's again, it's an Excel file, and it's going to show all the student scores, ratings that have been entered by the teachers for each of the SKB. So when I say each, I mean all 72. So you will see there, if you're doing only the learning progressions, you're going to have some blank spots because you're only required those 24 learning progressions, or 24 SKBs. Whereas if you were doing the whole thing, again, it's 72 SKBs. So this is good to monitor to see what has been entered for those students by the teachers, what scores have been entered, because you want to make sure all scores are entered before the close of that window. Then finally, the report is the learning progression report for EMIS, and this will show the ratings of just those 10 required learning progressions. And this is used for EMIS and for EAS for those reporting windows for both the fall and the spring. And that's available after the administration window closes, as well as after that data manager cleanup portion. So it's usually around end of November for the fall is around that time.
All right. Krista, let's move to the KRA reports, and then you can show how to access all of those reports when we go live.
That would be fantastic. Thank you, Ed. All right, the next one here is the kindergarten readiness reports. And the first one up is the KRA percentage completion report. And this is going to show the percentage of students in that building that have completed the KRA. So this is good to look at the percentage of that to see, okay, well, I've got 100%. I don't need to worry there. So again, it's a good monitoring tool to see what the student completion rate is. The second one is the KRA completion by item report, and this is going to show the teachers' ratings for each of the students that they have entered into the KReady system. Again, this is for monitoring each of those students, make sure that all scores get entered. And then the language and literacy report, that is the other one here that you can pull that will show that language and literacy domain scale scores. And this is good for reporting on track, not on track status. And all of these reports that you see listed here can be pulled both during and after the webinar. The next one up here for the KRA is the KRA student and enrollment reports. So the Excel file, this is going to show the student enrollment demographic data, what teachers assigned to that student, and basically used to make sure the student is connected to those teachers, to the correct teacher. This one, again, can be done during and after. And then lastly, there you see is that data downloads report. This is what I mentioned earlier. This can be pulled both for the early learning assessment and the kindergarten readiness assessment. All you would pick is depending on your data token. But this is a system report that, again, allows you to look at those teachers, student, and enrollment data that has been entered. And if you want to go to the next slide. There we go. All right. Last one up for the kindergarten readiness assessment reports is the KRA scale score report. And this is going to show all student data, teacher data, student overall, levels, scores, all of that. And this is the report that is used to submit to EMIS. And this is only available after the window closes for the kindergarten readiness and after that data manager cleanup window has closed. So this, again, this is what you're going to submit to EMIS, and it won't be available until after. And same thing with the KRA ISR report. So this is an Excel file that is going to show PDF links that you are able to click on and download a PDF for each individual students. So this is that individual student report is going to be more what you would be sharing with those families regarding the kindergarten readiness assessment. And this, as well as that scale score, is only available after the window closes. All right, we are going to stick on that left-hand navigation. We are going to go down to reports. So I'm going to show you how to pull a couple of these reports, and we'll go through each of that process. So selecting reports and selecting that drop-down arrow next to create a report. I want to show you how to do the SKB ratings report, because this is one that you're going to be doing throughout the assessment. So the first thing you do is the data collection. You'll do the fall. Filter by POA is defaulted automatically checked. If this is unchecked, it's going to show all students that are added, or all students that you added to the KReady system, regardless of the point of authority. So if you added a student and let's say you share that, but you still don't have that point of authority, it will show. If you select show observation dates, this will add an additional column and it will show the date the teacher has entered the observation for that specific SKB. So then you enter your start date, and I'm just going to pick the start of the assessment, select OK. Your end date, if this is after the window closes, just select the end of the actual window. Or if it's still going on, we're just going to pick today's date. Whatever today's date is, select OK. You can here select a location report if you have multiple preschools and you want to check. So you can check a specific one. If you want to look at your entire district, all of those schools as one, select that. If you're looking, when you see region, this is more for data managers who handle multiple districts. So let's say they have 4 or more or anything like that, and they want to look at a specific one. We're just going to do the test district here. We're going to select generate report and hit close. And you can see that green button down there at the bottom. It said your report was successfully requested. When you get back to your reports here, you're going to see what you just did, what time you pulled it, the organization, then that file name. Select download. And once that opens, there must not be scores in here yet. Once that opens, what you would see is all of the student demographic, the teacher information, and then any scores that were entered. So now we're going to go ahead and I want to pull a kindergarten readiness report. So we are going to pull the percentage completion report. Select your data collection. And again, you can select how you want to view this. If you want to view it by location, a teacher report, let's say, or if you want to do the specific location, do that, or the region. So select those. I'm going to just go ahead and do this location one and hit close. It's going to come up as enhanced completion. And actually, I end up hitting ELA test district. I apologize about that. So what you'll see, you shouldn't see anything because none of them were attached. So you would see nothing. I apologize about that. That was my error. So you want to make sure you do select the right data collection token. And then, or select the correct district. I apologize. And we're going to do that one more time. And refresh. And now you're able to download that report. All right, once that opens, now you're going to see the names of the student, what their state student ID, who is the teacher for the student, and then what scores have been entered. And so you can see it's not a score, it's just going to show an X because this is a percentage completion. So it's just showing you what has been done out of all of these students that currently have that kindergarten data collection token. All right, and then lastly, I want to show you is the data downloads. So same thing, because it can go for both ELA and KRA. So select that drop down and go down to the bottom where it says data downloads. Select your download type. I'm going to do enrollments because I really want to show you a specific report that pulls up with this specific portion. Select your data collection. And then if you were to select your region, I'm going to just go ahead and do the KRA test district and the data downloads. Hit close. You can see it is up there. I'm going to just refresh it real fast. And so this is more of a managerial, and it's going to let you see all CSV files that you've uploaded, such as the teachers, the students, and enrollments. It lets you compare data that's in the KReady system to what's in your student information system. So you don't have to go through one by one. So you see all of your student information, your teacher information. What it gives you here is these 3 columns. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because it's going to tell you the data collection. It's going to tell you whether the student is active or whether you have the point of authority. So you can see earlier, we walked through of removing the teacher and making this student inactive because they left a district. So you can see they're active? No. We do still have the point of authority until another district adds that student. So at this time, yes, point of authority is with us. So this is something good to check during and towards the end of your assessment to make sure that all of your students, you have the point of authority and that they're active when they should be. If they are not, they will not show on any reports.
As far as supports are concerned, we just want to make you aware that the Ohio Department of Education is the place to go again for policy and guideline information, as well as a great many other resources specific to the roles associated with the assessments. So there's information there about parents, that would be beneficial to parents. There's information there for teachers and administrators. It's really important to go to this site for, again, not just context information and background information, but specific policy and guideline information about both of these assessments. And as well as training and professional development access. So that's the place that you'll want to go for that information. As it relates to technical information, that's where the help desk comes into play. We are available for both direct information given to you if you reach out to us via the phone. Our numbers there listed on the screen at 844-K12 Ohio or 844-512-6446. You can also reach us online if you go to our website, and I'll show you that very quickly here. If you go to our website and click the request for support link, it will provide you with an opportunity to gain access to our team that's available to help you. So if you're on our site, if you go to the bottom of any of the pages, once you click the KReady support site information, at the bottom of any of the pages, you'll find this contact support. You just simply click on request support, and then a window will open up. Gives you the opportunity to either enter in your information, or you can type in your location. So I'll put in the Gahanna schools here and click go. And then those schools associated with that area will show up. I find my school or my school district. There's my child care center, and just click submit, and that will open up another ticket where you can fill in the information that you need. That's really the best way because it provides us with details. You can upload images if you have taken screenshots and things of that nature. So it's really helpful for us to get information that way because it allows us to zero in on the help that you need. Finally, here we're coming up to the timeline. So we want you to be aware of a couple of things specifically as it relates to the timeline. That first is that for ELA, the window is open. The webinars are listed there, but we want you to be aware of the administration timeline here. So the window has opened as of August 15th. The timeline will close, the window will close for teachers entering data on November 14th at 11:59 p.m. It's really important that you understand that all teacher data needs to be entered by that time. And then there will be a period of time for data managers to clean up that data, and then we expect the reports to come out in early December. For the KRAR, the window has opened, and that will run through the 20th day of instruction. The last day for teachers to enter information, to enter data, will be November 1st at 11:59 p.m. And then again, for the data managers, they'll have an opportunity to do data cleanup, and then we expect to get the reports back sometime in late November for the KRAR.
So one of the questions is how to remove a staff member. So I want to show you real quickly. Find that staff member and select open next to their name. And you want to make them inactive and remove the role. Hit save. But also you want to remove them from your organization. So select that district, administrative level, and select remove. Now, when you go back to your users and you type in, you want to look at teacher 4, there's going to be no teacher. So not only do you need to remove the teacher and make them inactive and remove that role, but you need to remove them from your district as well. And let's see. And I just wanted to make sure I got that out. Somebody asked earlier. So.
Great.
Okay, the last one was the format here. Robin, you're asking for the format for the student ID. Let me show you exactly where to find that. If you are to go to Ohio K-12 Help, you have select the Ready for Kindergarten, and you can select the Data Manager Support. And here you will see all of the information listed for data managers. And the one thing here is Ohio State Student ID, Unique Identifier Naming Convention. So select that document there. And this will show you how to create a unique child identifier that does not have an SSID. And I think Ed is answering that last one. So thank you guys for coming to the webinar today. And I do apologize for running over a little bit. I tend to talk maybe a little too much. So if you select your users, type in the name of the teacher you are looking to remove from your district. Let's just go ahead and go with number 10 here. Select open. Make them inactive in the status, and remove the teacher role on the details page. Hit save, but make sure you go to the organizations tab, select the drop-down arrow, select your district, and remove them from your district. Now, when that is done, and you go back to your users, oops, sorry. Sample, I think it was 6. Oh, I had an error on that, so I apologize. Let us go back to that. There we go. We want to remove. Can I find properties of unidentified reading map? So I was able just to do that, and you can see that they have removed those districts there from them. But you want to do that manually, and that way that teacher will not show then in your rosters.